Two Hotheads on Cannabis with Mike Cann and Heather Mack on unregularradio.com.
You're listening to Two Hotheads on Cannabis. This is, you know who it is. It's Mike Cann. And Heather Mack had to run to a family function. You heard her tribute to her mom today. It was her mom's birthday this week. And we love Heather and we miss her, but we know this is a special day for her, and we send our best wishes to her. And so glad that she was here today.
Yep, absolutely.
And we miss her. And now we've brought in the studio. We got Patrick Wilson. He's going to be filling in.
That's me.
As the special co-host. The new Are you a hothead today?
I think I am. I will be today.
All right.
I will be today. I can't replace Heather though.
No, not you're not a replacement. You're yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But Heather had some great songs she was playing. I was
those
so
were
psyched
amazing.
for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I guess we have a guest coming up.
Yes, we have a guest patiently waiting on the line. Called in right at the right time. We're a little behind and going crazy on the show. I hope I said his name right. It's the Chronic Marketer is the book. I know I said that right. And you can buy it on Amazon. You can check out the video, the website. A lot of good information on there for free. And then you can buy it. It's pretty relatively a cheap buy, which I like, with a lot of information in there. And the Chronic Marketer, Brad Gosse. Is that right, Brad?
That's right. Hi, Mike and Patrick. How are you?
Great. How you doing today?
I'm fantastic.
We have a lot of questions, and I love the layout of your website and the book because it puts it all out there on what the book is about and who you are. The first one I want to get to, which is topical in our movement, the marijuana reform movement, and dealing in politics, is how do you deal with haters online? And how do you deal with them? How do you handle them?
Well, it's an interesting place now. You know, we've got a lot of ways to look up what people are doing on the internet. So a lot of the time the haters that I'll deal with will come in through like Facebook comments or some other place. And a lot of the time, like I'll give you a specific example. I like you guys, I do a lot of uncensored stuff. So, you know, I do webinars that are, you know, I do a lot of swearing and that kind of stuff. And people sometimes get upset with me. And one time this guy came onto Facebook and he was leaving these nasty comments about my four-letter words and how I wasn't intelligent because I filled in sentences with fucking shit. And, you know, normally the sort of first reaction is to argue with these guys. What I do is I go and I look up their profile. I go see what kind of person they are before I argue with them. And in this case, this guy had his Facebook wall littered with Bible quotes. So I just responded to him and I said, I just checked your Facebook profile and it's littered with Bible quotes, and clearly you're not in my demographic, so I'm not going to listen to you.
Oh, my.
So sometimes it's just a question of kind of checking out someone's profile, seeing their history online. What other comments are they leaving? You know, if they're leaving some nasty stuff on your site or on your Facebook wall or whatever it might be, chances are they're doing it in other places. So find the pattern and then point it out to them. And usually it snuffs out the problem right away.
Wow, that's direct and to the point too. And yeah, I agree. You should check out who the person is you're talking to.
The internet allows us to be anonymous, but at the same time, even an anonymous person on the internet has some breadcrumbs that they've left, and so you can kind of see, oh, you're an asshole, even though you're an anonymous asshole. You're an asshole everywhere you go, so that's consistent. So thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I don't care.
Right.
Yep. You also in this book, you show us a lot of. One of the things I was listening to last night is you talked about everyone has good ideas. I think if you have any type of success anywhere, you're inundated with ideas from people. But the difference between being successful and being someone with good ideas is actually having product to actually take it to the next step. Put an idea on paper, but then figure out how you're going to make that idea happen.
Yeah.
And that's really the first step to doing things, and that a lot of people miss that. There's a lot of times, like with my radio show, we're kind of doing that right now. We're going through that whole process. The thing that's always tough for us is money. We don't have enough money, but we don't want to we don't want to be whores. You know what I mean? We want to do it our way. How do you jump? Like, how did you do it? How did you take that next step? How did you get the money when you needed it?
Yeah, that's a good question. And when I launched the book on April 20th, I actually was able to hit bestseller on Amazon in all the different marketing categories, and I did that by all through online marketing. And so a lot of the time, that's done with what we call joint venture partners. So if I were in your shoes, I'd be going to every other marijuana podcast out there and partnering with them, finding ways to cross-promote each other's radio shows, all that kind of stuff. The more tightly woven that community becomes, the more you can help each other get each other's listeners, because you all have the same customers and listeners, but you have a segment over here, and Cannabis Culture's got one over here, and Normal's got one over here, or whatever. So you want to be working with all of those podcasts and find a way to cross-promote each other in a way that's, symbiotic.
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
That makes sense.
So when you've got no budget, the other thing you want to do is, or little budget, is you want to create what I like to call viral content. And so a couple things I did for the book was I created an article called 11 Smart Successful Hotheads. And it was, billionaire and millionaire potheads that we had, self-admitted potheads like Richard Branson and people like that are extremely successful. They're high functioning, as I like to call them, and they kind of buck the trend of the lazy pothead in his mom's basement. And so what happened was people wanted to share that with their friends on Facebook and on Twitter because it validated their habit.
Yep.
Right on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another one that we did was a PDF. I had my cartoonist draw up, like the airplane security placard that you get when you're in the seat at the airplane. We had her draw one of those up, and it was called How to Roll a Joint, and it was like a step-by-step diagram of how to roll like a perfect joint.
Yeah.
And it had ads for the book embedded in the PDF, and it kind of went viral. People were sharing it on the Facebook wall with their friends and that kind of stuff.
Yep. Very mainstream things. Absolutely. I hear you on that. That's actually something that we could be doing more of. I've already got some ideas. Thank you, Brad. Thank you for the free advice.
No doubt. No doubt.
You have something, Patrick, don't you?
Yeah, I was kind of curious in recruiting. I mean, I work with some different movements as well, and I was kind of curious in recruiting people. Like, say for example, they're all into your idea, they like it. What do you do to motivate them to actually do something instead of talking about the great idea and we follow you, this and that? How do you motivate them to actually do something?
Well, I think that's really the big gap for a lot of people, and I think. One of the things, for me, I don't really I don't suffer from a lack of motivation. My ideas become real pretty quickly. But there was a time when I did, and I think one of the biggest problems I had was, I would smoke a joint with my friends and spit out all these great business ideas, and then they wouldn't go anywhere because I burned all my energy talking about them with my friends. Hey, what do you think of this idea, man?
Yep.
Hey, what do you think of this? And by the time I was done, I had talked about the idea so much I didn't have any energy left to actually flesh it out and make it happen. So my advice is shut your mouth, get to work, and then show people your idea. Don't tell them. Say, hey, look what I made.
Do it yourself.
Yeah.
Right on.
That's it. That's 100% it. And I'm practicing that more and more every day because it's so true. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like a friend of mine.
If you want someone like when I've been somewhat successful online in business, and so a lot of times people will come to me with their product and ask me to invest or whatever it might be. If it's a product, if it's done, if you can show me something, you have a much better chance of getting my ears than if you're like, hey, what do you think of this idea? Like, I don't have time for that.
Exactly.
And a lot of the time, people who have that idea think it's so valued they want you to sign some contract that says you won't do anything with that idea, even though they haven't.
I know, exactly. And it's a waste that they're trying to hold you back on nothing. They have nothing. That's so right on. My friend Michael Malta, we call the King of Pot. He's got it trademarked, the King of Pot, and I think he's going somewhere with that whole trademark. He's been telling me the exact same things you said, Brad, just now. It was so like, don't talk about it. Just get it done like you have. Like, focus on that all the time. That's what we all got to do.
Get shit done.
You get shit done. Fuck talking all that other crap.
Right.
You wouldn't believe how many people said to me, friends and family, I didn't know you wrote a book. I didn't know you were writing a book.
Yeah.
Because I didn't tell anybody except
until it
for
came
the
out.
very few people that were close to me that I wanted to kind of bounce ideas off of as I was going through the process. But I waited until I was done to tell everybody I had a book.
Yep. Absolutely.
Makes complete sense because that way you've got something to show for it. You've already got the work done. Then people can kind of come on board and help you to be able to distribute it at that point.
Exactly.
Right. What's the most odd piece of advice that you think you could give somebody who, I guess, I mean, I was looking at the ideas behind, or the marketing stuff for your book, and I want a copy myself, actually. I'm going to probably go online later on and buy one. But what's the oddest piece of advice that might not even be in the book that you might give somebody who has that ideology that they want to do the same thing that you're doing? I mean, what's the oddest thing that you could think of that might come up?
Oddest thing.
I
guess, the easiest thing I would think of in this day and age would be to create some type of intangible product. That's kind of I do have a chapter on that, but anything that doesn't require, production or physical shipment of anything, you want to be in the business of scale. So, for instance, any book that you write now, you can publish for free with Amazon, and every time someone orders it, they'll print it and ship it for you from their warehouse. You don't have to have a garage full of books and be stamping envelopes all night long when people order your stuff. So I would be looking at those types of products first, because it's the path of least resistance. You don't have to think about, how you're going to manage it if it grows.
Right.
I'd be looking at things like Amazon Kindle. If you could write a book or a cookbook or something like that, Kindle's a great platform. Doesn't cost you anything to publish there. They pay you a royalty every time someone buys one of your books. They provide the traffic and distribution, so you don't have to go out and do a whole lot of advertising. If your book's on target with the right audience, you're going to get some revenue.
Wow,
right on.
I think I might become an author.
I got me thinking about it too.
Seriously,
I know you probably got some things.
Let's not talk about it.
Yeah, so it's done.
Let's just talk to Brad. So, looking at the marijuana legalization, which we usually talk about as the news, the politics, the activism, we make things happen here. We just had a big protest last week in Boston, organized on this show, Brad. Do you support, I know that you smoke cannabis and you use it and you're proud and vocal about it. Do you support the legalization movement?
Of course, absolutely. I mean, why would I want it to be illegal and feel like a criminal?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we live in a world where we have personal freedoms being taken away from us every day, and this is definitely one that I think makes a big difference, because the fact that we're restricted from something that's in nature is pretty scary.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You have a question, Patrick?
Yeah, well, I don't. It's kind of halfway on the subject. You mentioned personal freedoms being taken away from us all the time. I'm also a member of the Occupy movement, and that's something that is kind of near and dear to my heart, as well as the civil rights movement. What's your take on Occupy? If you had some advice to give to the Occupy movement, what would it be?
To be honest, I'm Canadian, and I don't watch a lot of news, so my head isn't really in the Occupy movement. I don't really know the sort of what the core of it is, and maybe I'm going to take a guess here, because I've seen a little snippets here and there, but I'm kind of gathering that it's this group of people that's kind of angry with the banks and corporations and that kind of thing, or
right. It's a Federal Reserve. It's the 1% of the world that actually owns most of the money, and the 99% of the rest of the world, we're stuck working, and we can never. I mean, it's just becoming, the disparity in income is becoming more and more each day as we go, and so what you have now is you have some people that have kind of woken up to that and gone out into the streets, and they're yelling and screaming and protesting, even up in Canada too. There's a lot of stuff going on there. If you look back to the May Day celebrations on Tuesday, and with all that going on, I mean, if you were to give some advice as far as how to make a difference, because you have several hundred people in this town or 40 people in a different town, banded together, that does make a difference worldwide. But how can a smaller group, say in Idaho or Montana or whatever, how can they feel like they're making a difference on a larger scale?
Well, definitely. I mean, the internet bridges that gap in a lot of ways. But I think, generally my advice is probably counter to what you normally hear. I mean, I don't really know that, I know that money is a Ponzi scheme, right? I mean, our monetary system is flawed. The idea of how money is created is a bit of a mess, and it's hitting that point where the Ponzi scheme doesn't work anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I think the fact that there's this bubbling up going on is indicative of what's going on with the monetary system. The fact that there's a ridiculous amount of money being created, to meet the demands of this pyramid scheme that just doesn't work anymore.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, if it's there and it's how we have to function, then my advice is, rather than protest, I would burn that energy on trying to create a business for myself and trying to get myself out of that situation where I can't get a job or my education isn't sufficient enough. And I would try and do something on my own. I mean, look, we live in two of the greatest countries in the world, and we have a lot of opportunities in front of us. And there are some countries in the world where you have to wait 6 years to open a business. You have to be a member of some elite family just to start a new company. Yeah. And so I think we have opportunities in front of us. We just have to take advantage of them. And, America was kind of founded on a very entrepreneurial sort of pioneering society. That can change. We're heading back to that. We're heading back to a nation of freelancers and kind of, people who work for themselves, who are a bit more entrepreneurial. So, that was my advice. I mean, it may be counter to what you hear, but
I like it. Sounds good to me. What about Ron Paul, Gary Johnson, those types? Do you support them?
I love Ron Paul.
Yeah.
I think that guy's awesome.
Yeah,
he's one of the only people I've ever heard sort of just cut through the bullshit and tell it like it is. But sadly, I think he's with the wrong party, so I don't think that's going to work out so well.
I don't know, though. This is weird, this whole delegate thing. I'm getting calls. I missed the Phoenix this week, but there's a big story, apparently. Ron Paul is winning states, and people don't even know it. Massachusetts, they said it was Romney. He's from here. And apparently Ron Paul pulled a big upset here, even here. Like, he's winning this delegate race. It's going to be a brokered convention, it looks like. It's a weird thing. No one's reporting it yet. It's not over yet.
Wow.
So maybe he is in the right party. Maybe this is a weird, strange time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if he's able to win in his party, I think he'll kick ass. But if he doesn't, I wish he would have the I know it's expensive to be president, but I wish he'd have the balls to go independent and figure out a way to self-fund and make it happen, because I think he has enough of the actual popular vote out there that he could sweep it.
I know. It's really, it's that close, He's getting close to toppling these major parties. Ron Paul, that brand. It's amazing.
My wife and I, we watched a lot of the presidential debates on YouTube, and we love Ron Paul. We think he's a rock star.
I do, too.
Definitely. I think he actually can run independently afterwards. And as I understand it, what's happening is with him winning some of these delegates from the individual states, what's happening is that there are some other contenders that have, we all look at it as they've pulled out of the race. What they've done is they've just suspended their campaigns. So they still own those delegates.
Exactly.
That they had won. And so what you have is a situation where if nobody has enough votes or enough delegates to put in, then what you have is a situation where they clear everything and they vote on the floor during the
it opens up and all
convention.
the Ron Paul people come out and he wins. That's basically what will happen, I think.
Right.
If it gets opened by the second round, it's more likely every moment that Ron Paul wins. It's crazy.
Well, that becomes a race then.
Yeah. So
that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, this is exciting. We're going to see what happens. I mean, Gary Johnson today too. He's also running for the Libertarian ticket with Judge Jim Gray. So we're seeing some movements towards sanity in the political world, even nationally with the presidential races. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, guys.
And your website, The Chronic Marketer, has an extended interview with you all about the book and what you're doing. People can buy it on Amazon. Is that correct?
Yeah, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. The book's just called Chronic Marketer. Just do a search for Chronic Marketer.
Yeah. Thank you so much for calling in today. And I would like to get a book, too, because I didn't get one. And I want to read the whole book, and I'd love to talk more to you because I felt like I got some good advice today.
Let's do that. I'm happy to help.
All right. So you listen to Two Hotheads on Cannabis, and woohoo, Patrick.
Absolutely.
You and I just did our first interview together.
Yep. Yeah. That was kind of cool.
That was cool.
Absolutely.